come here. Listen to me. When you go down the stairs, out the front door, I want you to go down the street to the Mackenzie's house. I want you to tell them to call the police and tell them to send them over here.
Oh,
Now, do you understand me? Go do as I say. What's the boogeyman?
As a matter of fact, it was.
All right, there you hear it. The original Scream Queen, Jamie Lee Curtis. And just to make sure we don't have any drop calls, Melina, are you on the line? Hello? Oh, it looks like we lost that call. Okay, let's move on here. Anyway, moving on, we are going to get to some bigger and better things here. We have some horror movies coming out that we're going to talk about as soon as we get Melina back in the line, and those include Scream 4. And I'm a big Scream fan, so I'm really looking forward to that. We have Scream 4 coming out next spring, I believe. We also have some big horror movies that are in theaters right now, including Saw 7 3D and Paranormal Activity 2. So those are definitely going to be a few movies we're really going to be looking forward to taking a closer look at as time goes by. Again, we are going to talk about those two movies here today, but it's going to be non-spoiler because we don't want to spoil anything for those of you who may be going in to see those in theaters. But I have seen Saw 3D myself, not in 3D. I watched it online, and Melina has seen Paranormal Activity 2. So we're going to give some brief thoughts on whether we think it's worth it for you to go out and spend your hard-earned money to see it. But we're not going to really go into any sort of spoilers or what happens or anything like that or anything too general. We're going to be very, very in-specific so that we can make sure we don't spoil anything for those of you who haven't seen it yet. Hello,
exactly. What would
be
the fun in ruining someone else's expense?
Exactly. We don't want to do that, but we are going to start things off with talking a little bit about Scream 4, and I know we're both Scream fans, and why don't you talk a little bit about your experience with the Scream trilogy? I know you're a big fan.
I am to death. I think Scream was the very first horror movie I ever saw, so it set the pace, it set the line for all the rest of the horror movies to come down my way.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a big Scream fan, too.
Yeah, I've seen all the Screams, and I'm really excited to see Scream 4.
Well, I'm really excited to see it, too. And again, like you said, that was pretty much the first horror movie I watched. I've seen Scream 1, 2, and 3. And like I said, this is pretty much the first Scream I've watched, or it was the first horror movie I really watched back when I was really young. And the original Scream was actually a little bit of back history here. The original Scream was made back in 1996. It was one of the revolutionary thrasher films in the industry. Then we had Scream 2 in 97, a year later. Then we went 3 years and had Scream 3 in 2000. Now, 11 years later, I would never have suspected this. I always would, thought it would be really interesting and awesome, but I never actually suspected or expected that it would happen. We were going to see 11 years later a Scream 4, probably the last film in the trilogy. And I don't know about you, but when I heard the news, I was extremely excited to
when I heard
see
about
what
Scream 4, I was like, oh my gosh, is somebody playing a trick? Because after 11 years, you wouldn't suspect that they would do a sequel of 4, to be honest, but who knows?
I agree. I thought it was complete bullshit the first time I saw it. I thought it was just some fan fucking around with some sort of spoof. I never expected in a million years that there was actually going to be a Scream 4, and that comes out, by the way, April 15th, 2011. So that's definitely something to see. And basically a short preview, or a short little bit of text telling us what it's going to be about here. I'm reading this from one of its official website here, scream4.com, and 10 years have passed, and Sidney Prescott, who has put herself back together thanks in part to her writing, is visited by the Ghostface Killer. Now let's get some, and this stars David Arquette, Courtney Cox, among other stars, and the original Sidney is back as well. And let's give some predictions here. I'm going to go out on a limb and say it's Dewey, because we're going to play you the trailer during our commercial, but when they were doing the trailer, there was a subtle hint, and they said something like Dewey, like Sidney said Dewey, and then the Scream Ghostface voice said no way. So I'm thinking, are they hinting that it's possibly Dewey? I mean, I don't know if that's a hint or not, or just kind of placed there incidentally. However, I'm going to go out on a limb and say it's someone like that, really to shock us all. Who is your prediction for the killer?
I'm going to be honest. My prediction, and this will be out of the ordinary. I believe it's going to be her mother.
Her mother.
Now, I know
so
some people might think her mother, but her mother's dead. But the thing is, if you think about Scream 1, 2, and 3 down the line, you're always hearing point of views from other people about what her mother really was. From Billy in the first Scream, we heard that, okay, her mother was a slut because she slept with Billy's father, and that caused his parents to divorce, and that made him basically feel like a bad child. In Scream 2, when it was the mother, she was talking about, how Sydney's mother basically ruined her marriage and she's out for revenge. Then in Scream 3, we see Sydney's half-brother, and he's talking about how his mother basically gave him up for adoption. It would set the pace for, it seems like if her mother were to come back, she would explain like, my side of the story, and then if Sydney didn't join her or believe her, then obviously she would kill Sydney, be like, and I thought we were gonna be so happy together, but now you gotta die.
That's very interesting, and they could do a swerve like that. Who knows? But that'd be real interesting. So moving on from Scream, I'm sure we're all looking forward to that coming out spring of next year. Should be incredible. Moving into a movie that's in theaters right now, and that is Saw 3D, Saw 7 3D. Many are saying that this is going to be the final Saw in the trilogy, with a dead body laying between them. Oh, this is the original. I was reading the description to the original, but the point I was trying to make, I'm online here looking at some statistics. This was a fairly low-budget film, the first Saw that was made. It was made with only $1,200,000. If you can believe it or not, 7 installments later for Saw 3D, we go from $1,200,000 up to a whopping budget of, I believe, over $7 million. Let me get the exact number here. So we're going up nearly $6 million in budget.
The numbers are staggering, isn't it?
It's up